Hey folks, it's Matt here. It is Sunday in early November 2025, and I'm ready for a punk rock show. This is going to be my favorite top 40 American punk albums from the 70s and the 80s only. All right, now I made that cutoff 1970 to 1989 because I know there's a gazillion punk albums, and I'm going to be forgetting some of yours today, or just they were not quite good enough to make the cut. This is my list. You guys can leave anything you want to in the comments, put me down, build me up. I'm thick-skinned, I can handle it. I got my Stooges shirt on to commemorate the event, and well, let's just start. I got 4 stacks of 10 here. I did my usual non-preparation, so I'm talking off the top of my head, stream of consciousness, extemporaneous. So okay, let's start with number 1. Now, I've been building these guys up a lot lately. Ramones. I did a whole show on them last summer. I just did my top 70 albums of 1976, and I included this as number 1. So I mean, it's kind of hard for me to pick a more important American punk album than this. This kind of, I don't know if this started the whole gestalt, but once this was released, punk albums came fast and furious. And before this, there weren't that many. All right? Okay, that's my number 1. My number 2, also done a show on the Stooges. I had Raw Power in my hand, and then I thought, do I really like Raw Power more than Funhouse? Today I don't. Funhouse. This is the earliest album I'll be showing you. It's 1970. But man, this is ferocious, fierce. If there was such a thing as punk rock in 1970, this is it. All right, that's my number 2. Now we're going to jump to 1984 with my favorite Replacements album, Let It Be. Now, I hear some of you grumbling, oh, come on, Matt, it's not even really punk, is it? If you're going to pick a Replacements album, do Sorry Ma, I forgot to take out the trash or something. Yeah, that sounds more punk, all right, but this is a better album. This has the best songs, and I'm going for quality, folks, over sound. All right? Replacements. Let It Be. I've already done a show on them too. This is the 3rd band in a row I've done shows on, so I don't need to say too much. 5th band, X. I did an X show, right? God. I can't remember. That's how bad my memory is. X, Los Angeles, 1980. Love this record. Their first 4 albums are all classics. I narrowly picked this over Wild Gift. I just think it's more important. It's like picking Ramones, over Rocket to Russia or something. Their first 4 albums are all classics too. X, the finest punk band to ever come out of LA. Sorry, Black Flag. You could say Black Flag were the finest hardcore band if you want to split hairs. Although X probably fit into the hardcore genre in 1980 anyway. Since hardcore really started, and to me, in 81, I don't know. Anyways, get this CD. It's got bonus tracks. It's got remastered sound. That's what you want. Los Angeles, 1980. All right. 1, 2, 3, 4. Here's my 5th one. I can definitely hear you grumbling now. That is not punk. Who cares? Television. Marquee Moon. It's a 5-star album. Did a show on television, yeah, and Richard Hell. So there you are. Obviously, I'm showing you my favorite American punk bands first and their finest albums. Oh, and I made the restriction for myself. The discipline was 1 album per band. That's all you get. 1 album per band. So I'll be showing you 40 different punk bands today. And they're all bands. Television, Marquee Moon. No, it's not really punk, but it's close enough, and they played to the same audiences, and that the Ramones did, or Suicide, or the Dead Boys, or whatever. Okay, 6. Yeah, 6. Back to 1984. Husker Du, Zen Arcade. boy, you know, I could have picked any number of Husker Du albums. They're almost all great or classic even. You know, I was totally into these guys in the 80s. This was the one that really turned me on to them, though. I knew who they were before Zen Arcade, but I wasn't really into them. But that was a really important year, 1984. So many great albums came out. And, you know, SST was a wonderful label. Black Flag's My War came out in 84. That was a major punk album to show how the music was evolving, progressing. But Zen Arcade, well, you know, you saw I just rated the Replacements album higher, but barely. Double LP, Zen Arcade, it's a classic to my ears. All right. 6, number 7, another Is It Really Punk? I don't care. At the time, we called it punk. Devo. Question, are we not men? Answer, we are Devo. Brian Eno produced this. Their earlier singles, you know, on the Stiff label were more punk than sounding than this. But that's something that we need to understand about American punk, guys. It's an attitude. It's a vibe, you know, more than it is a sound. In England, it was definitely a sound. Those bands kind of tended to sound the same. In the 80s, American punk bands would sound the same. But in the 70s, no. So, yeah, I mean, I could just as easily call this one of the greatest new wave albums of all time. But for today's purposes, I wasn't going to leave it out. It's the best album that Devo ever did. And, you know, I'm a big Brian Eno guy, too. So I get to name drop him. Okay, 7 or 8. Meat Puppets 2, also 1984. I told you that was a great year. Now, yeah, like the Replacements, their first album is definitely more punk sounding than this, but this is a better album, guys. You know, I was so happy when Kurt Cobain, you know, in that Nirvana Unplugged show, gave a shout out to the Meat Puppets, did some of their songs, and they were from this album. This is still probably my favorite Meat Puppets album. They were on SST at the time, but they bought their stuff from Greg, and now these CDs sound fine, you know, because they've been mixed by outside hands. Whereas the stuff that's still on SST, that sounds crappy on CD. Black Flag and Husker Du and whatnot. So, anyways, Meat Puppets 2. Great album. All right, jumping back now to pre-punk. 1973's The New York Dolls did my Dolls show. I'm going to do a Heartbreakers album, too, on this show. This is, you know, pre-punk with a... that picture. This is pre-punk with like an R&B or 50s rock and roll, you know, flavor, glam, too. You know, this is before punk really had a name, but it was bands like the Dolls and the Stooges and the MC5, which I didn't bother to include because their most punk sounding album is Kick at the Jams, and that's 69. So I didn't want to start with 69. I want just the 70s and the 80s. So New York Dolls. All right, number 10. It's Perry Ubu's The Modern Dance. What is this? Was this 78? I want to say it's 78. Yeah, got it right. You know, Dub Housing was great. Their third album's good. But this is the one I played the most. Non-Alignment Pack, Modern Dance, Street Waves, Chinese Radio. Yeah. This is a great... And you know what? Their singles before this, some of which I think date back to 1975, are also awesome. You know? Little Midwestern punk rock. This is punk in attitude and style more than it is sound. You know, this would be new wave, but Perry Ubu precedes a new wave. So it definitely makes my top 10 favorite American punk albums. All right, moving on to 11 through 20. 1981's Damaged. You guys know I'm a big Black Flag man. I did a show on Black Flag. Did quite well, too, I thought. This is my favorite album of theirs. with Henry Rollins as the vocalist. Now, my favorite Black Flag music is the earlier EPs that were released. You can get it on the CD called The First 4 Years. I probably, since I like that stuff better than this, you know, with the first 2 singers. Well, Dez too, first 3 singers. Or was he only on Everything Went Black? I don't remember now. I probably should have included this, but there's something about this album. Of all the hardcore albums that came out in 1981, and there were dozens, this is my favorite one, I think. All right? So, Damaged. I chose this over the first 4 years. Okay, 1982, Bad Brains. This is a classic. Washington. I mean, this was originally only on a cassette. You couldn't even get this on vinyl or CD for years. But what a ferocious band live, and so influential to Henry Rollins. Yeah, Band in DC, Pay to Come. I think that's different than the 45 mix, but I can't remember how it's different. So Bad Brains is one of the awesome hardcore records of the early 80s. Okay, that's 11, 12. 13 is Misfits Walk Among Us. Now they only made 2 albums, and this is the better of the 2. You see this a lot on you know, shows of or lists of greatest punk albums of all time. But I'll tell you, my favorite Misfits music, this is like Black Flag, came before this. I have a list on Spotify I made using just, you know, stuff from the Coffin Box of all their 45s and EPs leading up to this. This is 82. They've been making 45 since was it 77, I think. So I like all that stuff better. I ain't no goddamn son of a bitch. It's still a great album, though. And if you're going to look for an album of the Misfits, this is it. But like Black Flag, I like the earlier stuff better. All right, 12, 13, 14 is Patti Smith's Horses. I went over this album, you know, when I did my 1975 show. You're going to say, that's not punk. You know what? This is pre-punk. She was a punk poet. It's all style and attitude. And yeah, I love it. I could have picked, you know, Radio Ethiopia is closer to punk sounding, but I like this album better. I like Easter better than Radio Ethiopia too. So there you go. Very important album to me, to the development of young Matt. 12, 13, 14, 15 is Like a Mother. LAMF, Johnny Thunders and the Heartbreakers. This came out in 77. It's hella good. I like this album more than I like the second New York Dolls album. This is the best thing I think that Johnny Thunders ever did after the Dolls. So it's a great live album in 79 too. But, you know, this has got Born to Lose, All by Myself, Chinese Rocks, the definitive version of Chinese Rocks, better than the Ramones version. And yeah, I know Dee Dee helped write it. One Track Mind, Do You Love Me? There you go. All right. That was 15. 16. Jumping to 1989. Pixies. All right. Doolittle. Could have chose Surfer Rosa. But Doolittle. Now, you know, this is post-punk. It's just what American rock sounded like in 89. But this is definitely informed by punk, suffused by punk. So I'm going to count it. Besides, I'm never going to pass up an opportunity to promote the Pixies. You know, they only did 4 albums. I love them all, but the first 2 are mega, and the EP before the first album is mega. So there you go. Doolittle, my favorite Pixies album. All right. 17 from about the same time, 88. Sonic Youth. Now, I could have chose, this is a debut nation, I could have chose a lot of Sonic Youth albums, but this is my favorite. This is a double album. Again, you know, they were still on an indie label. Evol, Sisters. well, my other favorite Sonic Youth albums come from the 90s. But this is my favorite, and Teenage Riot, well, that's my favorite Sonic Youth song, period. I put that on my headphones when I go walking. So there you go. Okay, back down to 1980. This is number 18. Dead Kennedys, Fresh Fruit for Rotting Vegetables. This is one of the great punk albums of all time. You know, out of the Bay Area, San Francisco. This is the best album, best punk album to come out of the Bay Area. You know, I left the Avengers out. Did they even have it? No, they didn't have an album, did they? Crime. But this is it, folks. Jello Biafra. Virtually every song is a killer. Kill the poor. Let's lynch the landlord. California Wireless, I love that one. That was a 45. I Kill Children. Holiday in Cambodia. Well, if that's not a classic, I don't know what is. There you go, guys. Had I been, born in Northern California, or not born, I wasn't born in California at all. Had I grew up in Northern California and not Southern California, I might put this above Los Angeles. All right. 19 is the Descendants' first album, Milo Goes to College, Milo Ackerman. If you get this CD, this is 82, I want to say. You get their Fat EP, which came out in 81. Great stuff. Again, another LA band. You can see that I'm prejudiced, or not prejudiced, but biased towards that. I'm not even going to go over lots of really short songs. They're funny. They're ironic. I was happy, as the 80s went on and you began to read more about how bands like the Descendants and the Adolescents were known on a national basis and not just like a localized thing, because that's a classic. That's the Milo Goes to College. That's the album cover, and that became like their symbol, their whatever, the image associated with the Descendants. Great album, 1982, plus the first EP. All right, and sticking with the Southern California in the early 80s vein, Circle Jerks, Group Sex. This album is so short, folks, that they put it on this CD twice. It plays all the way through, and then it just starts again with, Deny Everything. So, yeah. Keith Morris, who sung on the original Black Flag 45 EP, whatever you want to call it, 4 songs from 79, left the band and formed Circle Jerks, who were, they did an album before Black Flag did. And it's a classic to me. This is all one can do when you're talking about punk rock is talk about your own experience. All right, that was 11 through 20. Here's 21 through 30. Blank Generation. Best thing that Richard Hell ever did. Now, I actually prefer, this is a re-recorded version of the song Blank Generation. I actually prefer the EP mix from 76 or version. It's a different mix, but this is still great. And Down to the Rock and Roll Club and Love Comes in Spurts. The whole thing this is an awesome example of New York punk rock. It wasn't all about the Ramones. All right. Okay, so that's 21. 22. Back to LA. Suicidal Tendencies. 1983. Everybody had this record. Everybody knew. Institutionalized. Wow. This is, yeah. Again, I'm not going to go over all the songs because you either know them or you don't. But if I can turn you on to any of these albums, guys, if you've never heard them before, please, tell me in the comments, Matt, I picked up this album upon your recommendation. Tell me whether you think it's shit or tell me whether you like it. Again, guys, I can handle it. All right, that's 22. 23 is the Wipers. This little Wipers box set. It's Youth of America. I don't see the cover on the back, but it's going to be here. Came out in 1981. There it is. I could have used Is This Real? Their third album's really good too. But these guys are from Portland, Oregon. Greg Sage. And I don't think, to my knowledge, I've ever heard a Wipers song on the radio. All right? So they definitely, could have used a bigger boost at the time, but it's way cool stuff. Pick up this little box set. What's it called? It's called the Wipers box set. Is This Real? Youth of America and Over the Edge. You get all 3 albums, and I think other stuff too. So, all right. 21, 22, 23. 24 is the complete Minor Threat discography. Yes, I'm cheating here. I am going to use some compilations, and I'm going to use some more because Minor Threat, Ian MacKaye, I don't think they ever released an album, did they? Just EPs. Although that Out of Step one from '83, are they considering that an LP? It was 20-something minutes, or is it just like a long EP? Anyways, yeah, that's the cover of Out of Step. This was the cover of their first EP. It's all great stuff, straight edge. Of course, I've hinted around at my partying ways, and so I was never straight edge. But it's wonderful music. Ian was good friends with Henry Rollins in Washington, and I wish the CD sounded better, but it's everything you need, and it's very, very influential stuff. All right, 21, 22, 3, 4, 25 is the first Dickies album. The Incredible Shrinking Dickies. They did 2 albums, and this is 79 and 79, and they're both great. But this one, this was kind of like this is like Southern California's own Ramones. I mean, the songs were funny. They did cover versions of 60s material. It's very similar to the Ramones. I love both of their first 2 albums. But I'm limiting it to 1 LP per band. So there you are. The Incredible Shrinking Dickies. All right, so 30, 29, 28, 27. 26 is Suicide, 1978. Another album that does not sound like punk, but is punk in aspiration, in ambience. This is cool stuff. This is like synthesizer music. What did you get 2 CDs here? Yeah, you get the album, which is a classic, and this is New York band, and then you get Live at CBGB's. So, Ghost Rider, Rocket USA, Cherie, Frankie Teardrop, yeah, Johnny. I haven't played this album in a while. This was even influential to Bruce Springsteen. I can hear some of this on some of those Nebraska cuts. All right. So there you are, Suicide, one of the great New York punk bands. All right. 26, I guess. Here's another compilation for you, folks. The Cramps, Bad Music for Bad People. Why didn't I choose their first album? That's a great album, too, because I've simply played this more in my life. I mean, I love virtually everything. Garbage Man, New Kind of Kick, Goo Goo Muck, Human Fly, Drug Train, Uranium Rock. Love it. The Cramps, Psychobilly, right? Although I couldn't think of too many other bands that were in that psychobilly genre, but it's wonderful stuff. This came out in '83, this comp. Okay, Adolescence. God, I'm guessing 81. I think this album did came out before Milo Goes to College. Another, LA punk band, kind of similar to Descendants, but just not quite as funny. I Hate Children, LA Girl, Amoeba's great. Anyways, this is another classic that we played a lot. You thought that we were the only people in Southern California who were hip enough to know this album, but then later on you realize, no, this affected the global punk community. But by this time, though, by the time Americans were putting out so many great punk albums in the early '80s, England had already done it. So I'm gonna do my top punk albums from the UK or England, really, because I can't think of a great Welsh punk band, or great Irish punk bands, but that's a separate category. Anyways, in Scotland. But right now, America, 1981, Adolescence. Check it out, especially if you like the Descendants. Back to 84, still sticking with the California theme, folks, the LA theme, Minutemen. Double nickels on the dime. Now, if you get this CD, another SST thing, so, you know, don't be expecting great audiophile sound quality. You do not get every song that was on the original vinyl double LP. That's okay. You know, I mean, I don't know what to do about that. But what you get here is still prime. And, you know, D. Boon was a great songwriter. He was good friends with a friend of mine, Richard Derrick, who has passed. So I heard some D. Boon stories from him. And, you know, Mike Watt, of course, here. And double nickels on the dime means driving 55 miles per hour on the 10 freeway. That's the dime. These guys lived in San Pedro, and you can see, well, that's what the cover means. So, another classic. And number 30, Matt, stop with the LA stuff. I can't. There was so much stuff that was great that was coming out of there. And we're dealing with American punk rock here. Jeffrey with the Gun Club, Fire of Love. And just another album that everybody had. You know, now he would, you know, have revolving door personnel with the Gun Club, and it basically just down to him. But this is the best album that they ever made. And no, I've not heard every single one, and there are a few, you know. But again, this is a classic. If you're into Los Angeles music or American punk music in the 80s, this is a classic. Gun Club, Fire of Love. Okay, that was my 30. Moving on here. We're almost done, right? Wait a minute. This is 31 through 40. Dead Boys. Young, loud, and snotty. Dead Boys. Boston, right? It wasn't New York. But I associate them with that CBGB's or, you know, Max's Kansas City crowd. So maybe. Anyways, you know, Stiv Bators. Sonic Reducer. That's a Rocket from the Tombs song, which I don't believe that they had released. Rocket from the Tombs didn't release anything, did they, in the 70s? That stuff was all released posthumously. Anyways, this is a great album. You know, when thinking about New York as being like a center or a hub for punk rock in the 70s, and again, I know Boston, there's not that many actual punk bands besides Ramones and Suicide and, you know, Heartbreakers. And I mistakenly left off Blondie in my 1976 video I just made a few days ago because I thought that album came out in 77, but it's actually 76. I looked it up on Discogs and the label even says 76. So that's not a punk album. But again, that's another band that kind of had the attitude, although they were way far too pop for me, for even me to call them a punk band. And I didn't include Talking Heads because, again, you know, that's new wave music, but it's wonderful stuff. I mean, I did my Talking Heads show, but for, you know, for those East Coast states, New York and Boston and whatever, there weren't as many great real punk bands as you would think. Not as many as would come out of California right after, you know. So, but this is a great one. Young, Loud, and Snotty. Pick that up. That's my 31. 32, right back here, folks. This is the complete anthology of the Germs. Includes their entire GI album from 1979. It includes the stuff that was released before that. There's Darby Crash for you. This is hardcore before there was such a thing. You know, the Germs they released a single in 77, the same as all the English punk bands did. So they were right there, you know, from the beginning. Very influential, and kind of started the whole thing here, you know. I mean, if I was considering Blondie, I could have considered the Runaways. Their first album was 76. That's, you know, I mean, I don't know how punk it is, but Cherry Bomb could pass for punk. Anyways, Germs, MIA, the complete anthology, gives you everything, just like the Minor Threat CD I showed you did. All right, it's 32, 33. I'm not leaving it behind, am I? Los Angeles, or Orange County, really. TSOL, The Sounds of Liberty, Dance With Me. Jack Grisham, although he's not called that on the back here, he's going by the name of Alex Morgan. He's the singer because, oh, you know, the cops were looking for him or something like that. He wrote an autobiography where he tried to pass himself off as a demon inhabiting a human body. So it's really important for Jack to appear to be a badass. You can follow him on Facebook like I do. Anyways, TSOL, these guys were their fans were the most violent. Their shows, they were more violent than Black Flag. All right. The music's good, though. There's so many different versions of TSOL. This is the first album, Dance With Me, in 81, and I'm going to say it's my favorite. But they have a lot of good stuff. All right, so that's 33. 34, generic album, Flipper, 1982. This is one of those albums everybody had. If you liked punk rock, it's also like a precursor to heavy, almost like, you know, grungy. This kind of stuff that just England didn't make punk rock that sounded like this. Generic Flipper album. Great band, great album. All right. 3, 4, 45, 1982. Fear, the Record. These guys are another group that have been, you know, releasing stuff on vinyl since the 70s. Didn't you know, like the Misfits, because their first album was 82 as well. Leaving came right out. Was on Slash. He's still around. These guys were not politically correct. He liked to use the fag word too many times for my taste, but John Belushi was a big fan. This was a great record. And if you like punk rock from the 80s, this will do it for you. All right. We're getting toward 40. This is 36. This unboxed set of Angry Samoans, I believe, gives you everything. Now, I'm going to show you Back from Samoa. This is the cover. This is all good stuff, but this is like a classic album. Another one of those Los Angeles albums from 1982. See, again, this is just my roots. This is just when I was into all this stuff. This is like the Minor Threat CD. This is like the Germ CD. Get this, and I believe this is everything. Unboxed set. All right, but it's awesome. Back from Samoa. All right. 47 is Bad Religion, Suffer. 87, I want to say, or is it 88? I'm guessing it's 87. I don't have a whole lot from Bad Religion, but everything that I've heard is good. This is a nice, strong album. You know, I used to blast this in my car. Another Los Angeles band, folks. Could have just named this like my top 30 Los Angeles punk bands. Couldn't I? All right. The Dead Milkmen, Big Lizard in My Backyard. This is the same CD I had in the 80s. 85. Tiny Town. I thought Punk Rock Girl was on this. Maybe not. Oh well. Taking Retards to the Zoo. So bad. Bitchin' Camaro. That's one that they played on the radio. Anyways, kind of snotty little kids, kind of punk rock. And I used to play this stuff on the radio in San Diego on the 91X station. All right. Big Black, songs about looking. You know, little Steve Albini for you. This is 88. I can be getting some of these years wrong. This is also the same CD that I've had forever. This is hardcore, you know, this is intense stuff. Look at that picture, you know. He knew just, you know, by these pictures and this title, he was never gonna get this stuff on the radio, but he didn't care. So Albini kind of had this reputation as being this kind of punk purist, you know, who would never sell out. I'm gonna say this is their most famous work. All right. And the last one is another compilation, more Ian MacKaye. This is Fugazi's 13 songs, which is, it came out in '89, and it just consists of their first 2 EPs. Right? I do not like this as much as I like Minor Threat, but it does make my cut for my top 40. They had albums, but this is good stuff. These 2 EPs are killer. So that's it for my top 40. I've got so much punk, guys, and box sets and series of CDs that I'll show you a little bit more. This is I bought a lot of Rhino CDs in the 90s. This is Hardcore Punk Volume 1 and Volume 2. You can find them cheap online. It's good sound, and it's 17 songs on Volume 2, 17 songs on Volume 1. This will give you a nice cross-section of U.S. punk. I think that they're all U.S. In the 80s. Something else that Rhino did, I think I got it all, was the DIY series of punk and power pop, and I'll just show you them all really quickly. Here's the DIY. I guess these are not numbered. Oh well. Here's the LA scene, 76 to 79. You got XE and Cervenka there on the cover. Lots of good stuff on here. As you can see by this show, I'm really into LA punk. Here's Come Out and Play, American Power Pop from 75 to 78. Not really, you know, punk, but kind of punk adjacent. Lots of indie labels, and so much of this stuff sounded so wonderful, and had some DJs or program directors just taking more of a chance with this stuff. It would have, you know, you could have had like a breakout hit, maybe in a certain territory in the States. It could have gotten bigger, and of course that didn't happen. Here's UK Pop number 1, 76 to 79. And again, it's a lot of punk adjacent stuff. You got Nick Lowe, Eddie and the Hot Rods, Reckless Eric, The Motors, Squeeze, XTC, Early Squeeze, and Early XTC. The Boys, they had a good album. Anyways, I shouldn't be reading you a bunch of UK songs on an American show, but here's Anarchy in the UK Punk 1, 76 to 77. All right. Here's UK Punk 2, 77 to 78. Every song on these discs is pretty good. Here's the Blank Generation, the New York scene of 75 to 78. Who did I forget here? Tough Darts, Dictators. I could have had their first album on here. That's a great album. Mink DeVille, Wayne County, and Backstreet Boys. They got Blondie on here. Now see, they have Dead Boys, Sonic Reducer. I thought the Dead Boys were not a New York band. Mumps. And Suicide too. All right. Here's Mass Avenue. This is a cool one. This is the Boston scene from 75 to 83. Not a well-chronicled scene, but you know what? This is a solid CD. Is this not going to have... Mission of Burma. How could I have forgotten them? Oh well, folks. I'll have to put that in my comments when I list all of the albums. Mission of Burma versus. Oh well, that's me. No, they don't list. They don't list Dead Boys on here, so maybe I'm wrong about where the Dead Boys are from. Jeez. Shake It Up, American Power Pop 2, 78 to 80. See, this was a cool little set. These things are all out of print. They didn't sell them as one big box set. You had to buy them all individually. But I got them all. And then Starry Eyes UK Pop 2 from 78 to 79. And again, lots of punk adjacent stuff. So, that's Rhino's DIY series and the hardcore, faster, and louder stuff. This is Matt signing off. Next one I'll do will be English punk.